And welcome everyone to another preview edition of the OHIO podcast. I am your host, Chris the Wildman Wilds. That guy right there, there, that is Eric Buckeye Boggs, and we are here tonight to preview the Northwestern Wildcats versus the Ohio State Buckeyes at the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. Before we get started, I just want to give everybody a reminder. We are the official podcast of Scarlet and Game on Fansided. You can catch articles written by the big guy up there, Eric, as well as some other great writers there. Also, you can catch us as we are the official podcast of the College Huddle. The College Huddle, the place where you can go and get podcasts from 75 different teams around the country and find out all the latest news on every team out there. Eric, how's it going?
Going well. It's November. It's getting cold outside, which I guess they say October's for pretenders and November's for contenders.
That's right. We're about to find out.
We're gonna find out.
But hey, this week I don't think we should have any problem proving that Ohio State is a contender, as we do have another big snooze kickoff at 12 p.m. It is not on Fox, but Eric, man, these noontime kickoffs are just sleepy for our Buckeyes. It seems like the first couple series, they always struggle with these noon kickoffs. And we're in the midst of, 6 in a row now, I believe?
Yeah, it'll be 6 in a row. Mm-hmm.
Just a frightening thing. It is going to be carried on the Big Ten Network, but hey, why listen to the Big Ten Network, Eric, when you can tune in and hear this week yourself and Corey, who will be calling the game live on our YouTube channel here. And I'll tell you, it's a great time. Corey's going to be there, of course, hosting the festivities. And I believe Lisa's probably joining in again this week.
Yes.
And hey, who knows? You never know if a fourth guest is going to pop in there or not. Last week, saw B. Moses on there. You guys were all great. The week before, we were supposed to have Johnny on from Scarlet and Gray. Unfortunately, some scheduling conflicts came up. That didn't quite work out. But I'll tell you, Eric, this is taking off. Corey's fastly becoming the new voice of the Buckeyes, my man.
He is. He absolutely is. And at least if it's I used to like Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt, and then last week just kind of drove a nail in the coffin for everybody. They did not want to be there, so I guess at least even though we have to play this game at noon, at least they're getting a break from having to call an Ohio State game for a week. But as Big Ten Network gets it, but yeah, I don't know. Big Ten Network, their crews aren't the greatest, so tune in to us. Well, man, we'll show more excitement. We'll show we'll have great topics. We'll laugh. We'll have a good time. We might even talk about Tina Turner again. I don't know.
That's Tina's old news, Eric. We got to move on to something new, man. You got to find somebody new. Now, my lady of the '80s, Stevie Nicks, man. That's always a good topic there.
That's another good topic. That is. You're right.
All right.
Well, you know what another good topic is?
What's that, Eric?
Ohio State and Northwestern by the numbers.
Okay, let's hit it.
Ohio State leads the series 65-14 with one tie. That's domination. They've also won the last 10 in a row. Last time we lost to the Wildcats and Northwestern was in 2004. Old Jim Tressel got clipped by them 33-27. I'm pretty sure that was a Big Ten champion Northwestern team that beat us. Last meeting in Columbus was 2016. It's been 8 years since they have visited the shoe. Ohio State won that one under Urban Meyer barely, 24-20. Last meeting in Evanston was in 2022. That was the Win Bowl that we somehow skated by, finally 21-7. No chance of that happening. It looks like it's going to be really nice, warm fall weather in Chicago. So, and in the friendly confines, as you said. So don't think that'll happen. Largest margin of victory happened in the year of my birth, 1981, 70-6. I guess good old, that's probably what, Earl Bruce?
81 would have been Earl Bruce, yeah.
Yeah. Earl Bruce got them really good, 70-6. The largest margin of defeat was in 1958, believe it or not. We got skunked 21-0 in that game. Ohio State's longest win streak over the Wildcats was 24 games that happened between 1972 to 2003. Northwestern's longest win streak over the Buckeyes is 3. That happened all the way back in 1929 through 1931. Ryan Day's record against Northwestern is 3-0, with one of those games, I believe, coming, if not both of them, coming in Indianapolis. 2 of those 3, anyways, coming into Indianapolis in Big Ten championship games. This will be David Braun's first time going up against the juggernaut that is Ohio State. Looking back at those last 10 games, as you can see here in the graphic, Ohio State has pretty much had their way with Northwestern. The only game that was kind of close was 2013, was a 40-30 game. Again, that 2016 game, last time they were in the shoe, 24-20, that was a close one. I can go back to 2020. That was the COVID year when we played them in the Big Ten championship game. 22-10 was not looking good in the first half. Second half, we pulled away, and then of course the Win Bowl 2 years ago there in Evanston, 21-7. Chris, how about you tell everybody a little bit about the tale of the tape?
Well, first of all, in 2020, we didn't really pull away. We jumped on Trey Sermon's back and rode it to a win.
We he drug us to the victory.
That's right. Okay, so tail of the tape, guys. Ohio State, they lead across the board, every category, offensively and defensively. We're looking a lot like what we looked at last week. You look at this, Ohio State scoring over 38.5 points a game. Northwestern's only putting up just over 19. Run production, Ohio State, 185 yards on the ground per game, 112 for Northwestern, which honestly, Eric, is kind of, I think, surprising. I didn't think they were going to be that well or do that well. I really didn't. The passing yards per game, 270 yards almost for Ohio State, only 176 for Northwestern. I mean, you're talking about nearly, 1.5, or actually over 1.5 times the offensive production with Ohio State. They're averaging nearly 455 yards a game to 288 for Northwestern. Red zone percentage, Ohio State still over 43%, almost 44% now after a good showing. Third downing percentage, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Third down percentage improved last week. We've got the third down percentage at just 29% for Northwestern. And in the red zone, we've talked about it. You cannot stop Ohio State in the red zone. The only person who can stop Ohio State in the red zone seems to be Will Howard this year, because the only time we didn't score was the fumble he kicked out of bounds off his knee.
Mm-hmm.
So offensively, this is total dominance by Ohio State on paper. Defensively, it looks like more of the same. You got a Northwestern team giving up 21.9 points per game. Not bad by most standards. But then again, kind of gauge that against the competition they played a little bit as well. They aren't terrible defensively, but they're just not great. Ohio State, on the other hand, only allowing just over 10.5 points a game. Eric, we got to feel good about that. We got to feel real good about that. Running yards per game, Ohio State giving up less than 100 at 95.2. Northwestern giving up over 100 yards per game at 108.2. Passing yards per game, again, Ohio State only allowing 155.6, whereas Northwestern's almost giving up nearly 100 more at 241. Third down defensive percentage, Ohio State 30.1 is all the other teams getting against them. So they're getting off the field 70% of the time. That's a beautiful thing. Third down percentage versus for Northwestern, 36.4, which is not bad.
No,
not bad. I mean, and then of course in the red zone, Ohio State has only allowed 11 scores in 19 trips. That's something that is seemingly getting more improving as the weeks are going by now. And then red zone defense for Northwestern, they've given up 27 scores in 37 attempts into the red zone. So not quite as stingy as where the Buckeyes are at. You look at this by the tail of the tape, Eric, and this is a game that's setting up for another game where we see Ohio State dominance. But there's something that I really feel could play a major factor in what happens in this game. And just like we say in retail, Eric, location, location, location.
Yeah. Um, I think the biggest fear that Ohio State fans have, um, but I will jokingly say we have an advantage in this department, and that is playing on a bad field.
Yeah,
Now,
nobody's better at playing on a bad field than we are. We do it every week.
but this is going to be grass, not turf.
Yeah,
This is going to be a unique facility to play this game in, Wrigley Field. It's a baseball field where the Chicago Cubs play. In years past, when Northwestern has played in Wrigley, they've played on half the field.
yeah,
They have shared the same sideline with the opponents. That won't be happening, thankfully. However, it's still going to be incredibly tight in the back of the end zones. So Ohio State is going to need to be incredibly aware of the situation when they go for the corner of the end zone offensively and defensively for that matter. But you might be able to use that to your advantage defensively. The other thing that you're going to be aware of is where the infield, specifically home plate, is typically at. Last year, I think it was last year when Northwestern played
yeah,
Iowa, that became a huge part of this football game because basically where home plate was at was a crevice or a crevasse, as Northwestern called it. The guys who I interviewed, who you will see here shortly, that it was just awful. It was awful to play on. I remember back when I believe it was the Raiders shared the Oakland
Oakland
A's
Stadium. Yeah,
stadium, and at the end of the year, the infield was still just dirt,
yeah,
and they were playing on it. Um, I would almost prefer that to what they
yes,
tried to do
yes,
last year, in trying to bring in another like fake grass, but they were like squares of grass. They tried to fill those gaps, and it created a very uneven, unlevel playing field, uneven playing surface, I should say, and was just a mess in that game. We'll find out very quickly if that's going to be the case. Ryan Day decided, I don't know if you heard in his press conference today as we record this on Tuesday, Chris, they are going early on Friday. They're going to be doing a walkthrough at the stadium, walking on the field, checking the field, getting the players comfortable with their surroundings. What's going to be incredibly weird is at halftime, there is no locker room. They're going to the bullpen at halftime.
yeah,
This feels like Pee Wee football. All right, teams go to each end zone at the halftime. Like it's just I don't know. Like the novelty of it is, I guess, interesting. But as the Northwestern guys, you're going to hear they think that this stadium is going to be 70 to 80% filled with Buckeye fans. There is a large
yeah,
alumni base in Chicago
yes,
that is excited for this game. They're gonna all be at the game. A lot of Buckeyes are going to Chicago for this game. It's not an incredibly far trip for us.
no,
Ohio State 6 hours, I think.
all 6 hours.
So yeah, it's not terrible to drive there. A lot of them will be so you don't have to get a hotel. You literally you could get up early and go if you wanted to, or you can drive, and stay halfway Friday night or something, and then drive in the morning the rest of the way if you want. A lot of people take the shuttle buses. I know a lot of
Mhm.
shuttle buses are doing weekend trips out of Columbus to go to Chicago for the weekend. So a lot of people are doing that. It's going to be a home game for Ohio State as far as crowd size.
It is. But Eric, I'll tell you, my biggest concern, and I've been on Ryan Day about not running up the score more in games. This is one game where I don't need to see it. I
Yeah.
want to make sure we come out of here healthy.
Yeah.
This
That's
is, I think,
that's everybody's concern, including Northwestern's. Like the West
yeah,
Lot Pirate guys, they're like, "Hey, can we just sign a contract? You guys win by 30. Let's not play this game."
yeah.
Okay, like I'm down the clown for that. Like that is literally where we're at with this football game, and I'm really concerned, Chris, that there's going to be one or two storylines coming out of this game. The first one is a bad injury.
Yes.
The second one is we're going to come away complaining, thanking our lucky stars no one got seriously hurt, but how bad the playing service was. We should never ever do that ever again. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like one or both of those will be the storyline coming out of Saturday, and that's what scares me to death about this.
I'll tell you right now, if we go out and we are extremely productive out of the gate and we go out and put 2 or 3 touchdowns up and stop them, I am okay. I don't care if it's at the end of the first quarter. If we're up 21-0, pull the starters. I am literally okay with that because I am terrified that going into Indiana, we could see an Emeka, a Carnell Tate, a Jeremiah get hurt in the back corner of those end zones. That field is so tight, Eric, especially like you said in the back of the end zones. I feel it's not safe. I question the wisdom of the Big Ten even allowing this game to happen. Um, I feel like there's got to, if you want to have a game in Chicago, why not?
I don't know
Why not
why.
Soldier Field?
I don't know why they don't just have this game at the shoe. They haven't been here since 2016.
Yeah.
Oh, are they? They already admitted it's going to be like a home game for Ohio State. Oh, well, they're worried about not getting the gate. Okay, Ohio State could get 100,000 in the shoe versus
Ohio
I think
State will get 100,000 versus anybody.
right, but I think Wrigley Field holds 40 some thousand.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna have a bigger crowd. Give them half the gate; they'll still make more money.
Yes.
So to me, this is incredibly
Foolish.
incredibly dangerous. Is this is we're playing with fire here. So
We're playing with young men's careers, is what we're doing. We are taking a risk that does not need to be taken. I really feel that, and honestly, and I know this was on the books before um, our new AD Bjork even took over. But you know what? Gene Smith owed it to this team to try to throw his body in front of this. He really did. I don't like it. I'm concerned about it. I'm not concerned about Ohio State losing. Not one bit. As negative as I've been, I have no concerns at all about Ohio State losing. I am terrified at losing a player more than anything.
well, let's get into we'll get into the game after our commercial break in our
Yeah.
interview. Let's go to the interview now with the Westlot Pirates, and then following the interview, Chris and I are going to come back and we'll dissect this a little bit more. Welcome back, guys. We are thankful so much to have the West Lot Pirates with us, the best Northwestern podcast out there, and my good friends from over at the College Huddle. They do the very best job covering Northwestern athletics and football. These guys are famous Northwestern fans. If you're watching this in preparation of this game, you know these guys. They're hanging out, flying their pirate flag out there for tailgate season. And guys, 4-5 this season. Let's start there. I've watched a couple Northwestern games. Like I said in the pre-show, rooting like heck for you guys against Duke. Really felt like if you could have pulled that one out, the season looks a little bit different. But 4-5, kind of give me a rundown of where you're at in the season and kind of how you feel as a fan right now.
Well, I mean, before the season, we said this season could go a million different directions. It could be really, really good. It could be really, really bad. It's landed somewhere in the middle, but it's been frustrating. I mean, yeah, 4-5 is not where we wanted to be. Like, we thought a bowl was definitely feasible. I mean, you look at our last 3 games, it'll be tough. Hopefully, if we can pull one of our last 3 out against you guys, Ohio State, and then Michigan and Illinois, we get one of them, we're sitting at 5-7 on top of the APR. So we're right there to get that extra bowl game if it's not enough 6-6 teams come around. But I think we had hoped at this point in the season we'd be at like 5-4, 6-3. I mean, it's just the offense has been maddening, just inconsistent, and not at all. Going into the season, we were really, really high on what Zach Lujan was going to bring to the table. We were really excited for this dynamic offense, and that just hasn't materialized. And there's a million reasons why it hasn't materialized, but at the end of the day, it just hasn't happened. And it's been really frustrating, especially as well as our defense has been playing.
John?
Yeah, I think, let's frame it in terms of common opponents. The last team each of us played was Purdue. And obviously it's apples and oranges in terms of how the results of those 2 games went. But I think for a lot of your fans, a lot of Buckeye fans, you're probably being like, that's apples to apples, Purdue and Northwestern. And we're not really in a position to like strongly disagree with you there. I think what we would say, and this goes to what Sam is saying, is like, if you look at, if you say, what's the best we've played this season and what's the best Purdue's played this season, our best is normally like their best. Our best is the Maryland game. We beat the brakes off of Maryland. And on one hand, we want to be like, see, that's the difference. And all you Buckeye fans see that's the difference. But we've seen that one time in Big Ten season. And when Sam talks about frustrating, that's it. Because we've seen what great could look like for this team. And then the whole rest of the time, week after week, we're just watching failures in execution, failures in consistency, head-scratching coaching decisions, and just seeing us not get back to that place. So you're right. I mean, like, at the grand scheme of things, like, could it be worse than 4-5? Yeah. But just about every Northwestern fan's thinking it could easily be significantly better than it is right now, and we just keep shooting ourselves in the foot.
So, Sam, you mentioned frustrations in the offense. Let's start there. Tell me a little bit about what you expect to see from Northwestern as far as how you think they're going to try to attack Ohio State with this offense.
How we're going to try to attack you with this offense?
Yes.
I mean, we're going to try. We're going to try to run the ball. I mean, but our offensive line has been, a mash unit. We lost our starting center. We've lost our starting left guard. I mean, it's just been just a rotation on offensive line, just trying to get something together that's healthy. Our running game hasn't come together. Our passing game has been brutal at best. I mean, Jack Lausch, love the kid. I mean, this kid is everything you want in a Northwestern quarterback. He's just not, he's a sophomore. He doesn't have the awareness yet to know when to pull it down and when to run and when to throw it. And it's just, maddeningly, like I say, maddeningly inconsistent. You saw flashes of it against Maryland, putting together some beautiful long passes. You saw it in the second half against Purdue. Again, putting together some plays, starting to throw to the running backs coming on wheel routes. And that came together. But for it to not have happened so fast, I mean, Mike Wright was just not it either. And we had high hopes for him going into the season. And, after the Duke game, when he just was completely inaccurate and couldn't hold on to the turnovers were just maddening. And so it was like, okay, give the ball to Lausch and see what he can do. And Lausch is just trying his darndest to play within the system. And that led to, how many times, John, did we say, dude, you had the first down, you pull it down and run, you had 15, 20 yards, and instead he tries to fit one into a tiny little window.
Right. It was, that was Wisconsin. Right. I mean, that happened during the Wisconsin game. It happened during the Iowa game. And there were certainly stretches during the Purdue game where he was the only thing that we had going. And that's for sure true. And his his grade in that game, if you look at like his PFF grade, was probably his highest grade of the season. I think we're all very realistic about the fact that that came against Purdue. We talked last week on last week's pod that it's like all Northwestern fans need to brace themselves because it's going to look like a different sport this week. They're like
you're in a baseball field, might look.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, we may give you a I don't know, mediocre to slightly above average Cubs offensive outing in this game. We might give you 3 runs. We might give you 6 runs. I mean, realistically, we're all very much trying to do our best to smile and do a song and dance and pretend like any of us want to be playing this game Saturday. And when we get to the defensive part, it's a little easier to make that argument because there are some stuff that I just really want to see. Like I really want to see parts of our defense against your offense. From an offensive perspective, I mean, you guys are going to roll Denzel Burke up on our best corner. Your defensive line is absolutely unbelievable. Like there's from your fan base's perspective, I don't want to sell you a bill of goods. I look at Purdue and are like, our kicker is better than Purdue's kicker is for sure. Purdue's kicker missed 2 field goals against Purdue's kicker missed 2 field goals against y'all. That would have been 6 points. 6 points feels about right to me. Okay. And I think every single bit of statistical analysis that we have, everything we previewed y'all in the summer, you couldn't be any more aligned with how I thought you were going to look. The best defense in the country, that's exactly what you have. And, again, it's like, even if we had that Maryland effort, this just isn't the week where that would necessarily make a heck of a lot of difference. And it goes to the same thing because for us, the 2 games after y'all, Michigan and Illinois, that's where like if the stars align for us in those games, there maybe is a real result for us there. So it's like, but I don't know. Yeah, we're not like Sam, like Jack Lausch, we hope is the future. We hope he continues to take growth and take big steps upward and everything. And we don't see this as a week that is going to help any of that. So it is what it is.
Honestly, I was looking at the weather forecast, just praying we get a repeat of a couple years ago when CCC couldn't do anything. Just the monsoon wind. No, it's going to be a gorgeous afternoon.
Okay. Because I was going to say, last time we played in Chicago, the Windy City definitely showed up for that one. You mentioned the other side of the ball defensively, John. Let's go there, and I'll let you start first. Talk to me a little bit about the Wildcat defense and again, what you expect to see come Saturday from you guys on that side of the ball.
I mean, I think for us, because we're all very realistic and there's not a result in this game for us. There just isn't. I mean, I think you have to be realistic. But on the defensive side of the ball, if we're looking at a lot of individual matchups, it's really going to be a point of pride for a lot of our guys. And we're really proud of the group that we have on this defensive side of the ball. It's kind of up in the air right now. The guy who is our name player and has been our name player for all really this year and all of last year is the linebacker Xander Mueller, but he's been hurt and we're waiting to hear whether he's going to be able to go. We'll find out one way or another.
We got a real non-answer from Braun's press conference today. Right.
So I kind of doubt that. Grayson Metz, the linebacker who stepped in and has filled in for him, has been great. We're proud of our linebackers, even with Mueller out. Like it's going to be Metz and Mac Uline in the middle. They do a great job. We're really proud of our defensive line. We feel it's deep. We feel it's strong. We have a guy like Anto Saka, who is a great pure pass rusher. We have a guy like Jalen Pate, a veteran defensive end who had an awesome game against Purdue, really maybe the best game of his career. But it's the depth. We're maybe 12 deep on the line. We rotate a lot of guys in, feel really good about that group. I think for me personally, corner is probably what I'm most interested about. And I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if you can remember, Sam, if Theron Johnson is an Ohio guy. And I'm trying to remember, but Josh Fussell, our other corner, who's a freshman, he's for sure an Ohio guy. And I think Theron might be an Ohio guy also. I could be wrong on that, but There are two corners. Theron is a guy who I believe he's a junior now. He's really improved by leaps and bounds. And this year, he really kind of hit a gear and went way, way up. Now, he's had two brutal after the whistle penalties each of the past 2 weeks. But in terms of like during live action, he's been unbelievable. We're really excited to see him match up against your wide receivers. And Josh Fussell, our number 2 corner, I mean, again, he's a freshman. It's a really tall order. He's probably going to have a really hard day, but he's a guy who will really grow out of this. Like matching up against your wide receivers will be a big moment for him. So we're really excited. There's a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff we want to see. And I think for that unit, they know they're good. And every down to down, they really want to test themselves against what you guys have. I think we're also realistic that you've played, if you look at the Big Ten defensive rankings, you've played, I think, about 4 defenses that are ranked at least as high as we are or better. But we're also very conscious of the fact that our defense just gets no help from the other side of the ball week to week. And considering that, they really ball out. So, I mean, we're excited to see how they do against everything you're going to throw at them.
Yeah. Johnson's from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Gotcha. Yep.
I mean, okay. So Indy, yeah. So he's Indy, so not an Ohio guy, but Fussell is, close. And I think for him, a freshman going up against Ohio State caliber wide receivers in Wrigley, huge moment for him, and that's something that again we're really searching for things to take out of this game, and that's at least one concrete where I can be like, well, that's positive.
Sam, anything to add to that on the defensive side?
I mean, not really. I mean, John kind of really hit it all on the head. I want to see what our defensive line can do. Can we put any pressure on the quarterback? I don't know. Antosaka, Jalen Pate, those guys have done a really good job at getting to the quarterback. So maybe we can put a little bit of pressure on. I want to see the time of possession not be completely out of control. Like what John was saying, I'm really concerned that we will, if our offense is just going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, our defense is going to get gassed. And then in the second half, it's just going to turn into a track meet. That's my biggest concern. I think, I'm interested to see what happens in the first half. And if things do get out of control, I don't think, Chip Kelly's going to take his foot off the gas. You can't really. I mean, yeah, you guys are sitting at number 2, looking at a date with Oregon coming up again. I guess I'm also hoping you may be looking past us to Indiana. That's a big one, and maybe we're getting overlooked. That's what I'm hoping for. But like, I like our defense. I really do. We got a lot of great players. I don't know what we're going to be able to do against your offense.
So we talked about this a little bit in the pre-show again, and you just alluded to it, John. Wrigley Field, that's the story a lot of us are talking about. You guys have obviously played there before in years past. They have repositioned the field. I guess we're going to be able to have our own sideline this year, as opposed to sharing them, which is what's happened in the past, which I believe you said, John, awkward. Maybe the word you used for that was awkward. I can't even imagine.
You just have some officials standing on the 50-yard line to keep the two sidelines apart. And you're playing on the other side of the field. How are you running on substitutions at the end? I mean, it was a nightmare. It was just really, really tough.
Yeah.
So, at least there'll be 2 sidelines. I'm hoping the field is in better shape this year than it was last year against.
That's my question.
Yeah, we had this gaping chasm opened up right around home plate that easily cost us a touchdown. When our offensive line was swallowed whole by the crevasse. So I'm hoping that the field is in better condition. The Cubs haven't been on there for a while. They've been working on I hope they've been working on the field for a good long time. The weather's been nice, so it's not like it's going to be this sloppy mess. So, we're going to see chunks of turf flying up around the batting circles or the pitching mound or anything like that.
Right. It's funny, Sam, you bring that up, and I'm like, if you're like what in the stadium, what are we hoping to take out? I'm like, yeah, I'm remembering that and be like, well, I want Jack Lash to come out of this game healthy. And you're like, well, we want Will Rogers to come out of this game, or Will Howard to come out of this game healthy. And I'm like, yeah, isn't there like a deal that we can kind of put together here or something like that? Like a little dog and pony show. Because there's just not a lot of, I think too, when you're talking about Wrigley, first of all, just about any Northwestern fan that is going to be thinking about going to this game, and maybe some who are going to this game, have been to Wrigley at least once before. And that's not to, like, it's a really cool place. It's really great to be able to watch football there. There's less of a novelty factor for our fan base. There is a massive novelty factor for your fan base, all of whom the Chicago alumni base is going to turn out for that game like crazy, I'm sure. Northwestern fans are very conscious of the fact that that's going to happen, which is only going to make them we are looking like we're fully expecting this to feel like an Ohio State home game in Wrigley Field. I think every Northwestern fan is just very much aware of that. In terms of the viewing experience, yeah, sight lines are not great. I mean, it's what you would expect, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of low-lying sight lines, but the flip side is just to watch a game in Wrigley Field. It's just a really cool thing.
It is very cool.
Yeah. And if you've never done it before, which the vast majority of these Buckeye fans have not, it's worth doing once. And we're very conscious of how many Buckeye fans are going to be taking that experience in.
And also, this is our homecoming, which is just, brutal.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Who play on that?
Like,
I think
we're not here to complain. It's all an offshoot of this whole lakeside field thing and how it all came together and all of the different pieces. I think it remains very head scratching to everyone that Wisconsin was not our homecoming at the lakeside field.
My guess is what happened is we set the homecoming well before the lakeside field was even a concept. I think that was set. We wanted to put homecoming at Wrigley to try to get as many Northwestern fans out as possible. We've done that in the past with Ohio State, Michigan, scheduled that as our homecoming just to try to get a good number of home fans out there. With the lakeside field being as absolutely successful as it was, I mean, oh my God, I know we were talking before the season. It was everything we wanted and more. It was an incredible facility, incredible experience. And, next year, I guarantee homecoming is going to be at Lakeside Field. I think they said it at Wrigley because they knew those games were going to be in Wrigley. We didn't know that everything prior was going to be at Lakeside Field until the middle of the summer. So they set that, worrying because you couldn't do homecoming out at SeatGeek Stadium, that the southwest suburbs of Chicago, where it would have been an hour and a half drive from anyone on campus to get there. Would have been great for me. I live fairly close to that, but that's just me. You couldn't do homecoming there. They didn't know. I mean, they couldn't lock down. Weren't able to lock down Soldier Field because the Bears schedule hadn't been.
And that's a question a lot of Buckeye fans have asked me. I don't have the answer for it. Is why not Soldier Field? Is there some kind of reason why they weren't going to play some of these games there?
Yeah,
I think it's what Sam is saying. It's really easy well ahead of time to say, hey, well, we'll do these games in Soldier and we'll do these games in Wrigley. But I think what Northwestern discovered and what we all discovered is logistically, it's way more complicated than that when you actually have to start breaking it down, because you have to look at it from, let's say, Northwestern's perspective. Northwestern, let's say, is like, hey, we want Ohio State, and we want Ohio State to be in Wrigley, and we want it to be sometime in the back half of the season or whatever. And the Bears are like, well, it can't be the same week that we're playing a home game there. And we're like, well, okay, it's fine. And then the Bears, so like pick a week when the Bears aren't playing there. And the Bears are like, well, the NFL hasn't given us the schedule yet. And they're sure as heck not rushing the schedule out to accommodate a Northwestern football game. So then suddenly you have Northwestern being there being like, shoot, we've got to get this scheduled. And if we're going by Soldier, we're going to have to crazy delay when we know whether or not we can even do this. And then you're like, well, what if you put all your cards in that basket and then it falls through? And realistically, I think really quickly it moved to being like, it's going to have to be Wrigley for a bunch of these games. But I think part of what drove them to making the Lakeside Field happen in the first place was like, aside from Wrigley, your options dry up really quickly. And so that's your thing. I think for all your Buckeye fans, they're all probably being like, yeah, why couldn't it be at Soldier Field? I think it's mainly because by the time they would have needed to know, the NFL hadn't released the schedule yet, and it just ended up being too many logistical hurdles.
It's interesting because if you you look at Pitt, they play at the same stadium as Heinz Field, Pittsburgh.
I think the difference there is that is an ongoing concern. I mean, that's every year. That is their home field. So there's not like this give and take between. I mean, Soldier Field is owned by the city of Chicago. It's not owned by the Bears, which the Bears organization has. That's a whole other thing with the Bears.
It's a different podcast. Got it.
Podcast. But the city of Chicago owns Soldier Field, so their regulations and what the hoops you have to jump through to work with the city of Chicago are insane, and the Bears have first priority. In a situation like in Pitt, that's a shared thing. You know that going into it, going in years in advance, this is the Pitt schedule. They have every bit as much of a say on what happens. I think also the Steelers own that stadium, if I'm not mistaken. So you're able to, kind of coordinate that ahead of time.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John, you were breaking up. What were you saying? We might have lost.
We do not have that kind of leverage. Yeah.
Oh,
I think the great irony being, you guys could have come in and people who go inside that stadium deserve to see some quality offensive football. And I think Ohio State going into Soldier was about the only prayer anyone was going to have to see some good offense in that building this year. So, oh well.
Nice. All right, guys, give me your final thoughts on this football game, and maybe if you want to, give me a score prediction if you'd like.
Why? Just why? There's no, again, these individual defensive matchups, all the pride at stake for any Northwestern guy who's a Northwestern guy. We totally get it. It does us no good. We need to be healthy for the 2 weeks after this game. That's where my priority is. I think what's the spread? 38-6 seems
31.5. That was what it opened at. I haven't seen.
I think
since then.
I think it's like 30-31 right now. 38-6 seems good to me. At the same time, I look at times when you guys have played a half decent defense that got no support from its offense, like Iowa, and really quickly you guys can just sprint your way past the 40 mark. So that certainly wouldn't surprise me, but 38-6 seems to about match up with the spread, and that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get some sort of turnover, if we can get some sort of special teams play, kickoff return, I'm guessing we're going to be fielding a lot of kickoff returns, and we got a pretty dynamic kick return team. If we can break one, we'll maybe get in the end zone. I just don't see our offense putting it together, and maybe some, maybe you get one, maybe I don't know, like 42-10, maybe, I don't know.
Okay. So if I was going to absolutely go pie in the sky, I was actually thinking about this today. Basically, the last time, because Northwestern had a really great end to last season and some really high hopes coming into this season. And it's to go back to a time where I think every Northwestern fan is basically like, we don't have a chance in this game. You actually have to go a ways back. You probably have to go all the way back, almost 14 months, to when we played Penn State at Ryan Field last year, and to find a similar attitude, right, among Northwestern fans. The irony being that game was 10-10 at the half, and it was 10-10 at the half because, to Sam's point, Penn State fumbled the opening kickoff return. We recovered, got on the board, played some really good defense in the first half, and clawed our way to 10-10. It got away from us in the second half, but I suppose if I was going to go pie in the sky, some sort of turnover situation keeps us in it early, and we ride that as long as we can. I think we're all pretty realistic, though, that odds are that does not happen.
Well, Will Howard is pretty good for one bonehead throw a game where he throws a pick. It's like, what were you thinking? Last week was the exception to the rule, but I also think we played a team last week that looked like they had given up.
Yeah.
That team, that was one of
Right.
the saddest Big Ten teams I've seen in a while. Even Ryan Walters looks like he's given up. So I don't know he survives after this season.
Honestly, we were a little surprised he made it past our game. Like we
Right.
had the exact same feeling watching that game. It's like, this is a team that has quit. They've packed it in. They just want to go home. And Ryan Walters he's done at the end of the year. I was a little surprised they didn't want to get a head start on the coaching search early. I mean, so that he stayed on to then go play you guys. Yeah, he's gonna, like, that's gonna be one of those, you know, Bloody Monday, you know, press conferences down in West Lafayette. But like, yeah, I mean, we're not a team, like, we haven't packed it in. We haven't quit. We're gonna play hard. We're gonna play tough.
You're gonna see some good defensive football from us, 100%.
I mean, the fan mentality might be a little more defeatist, but that's not what you're going to see on the field. I mean, this team realizes, like, it's tough, but we can get to a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we win, you know, 2 of our last 3, we're guaranteed in. We win 1 of our last 3, more than likely we're in because of the APR. And, you know, it's good to be a smart school when you're trying to get the 5 and 7, you know, invite to the bid. So, you know, we got that going for us. So 1 of our last 3 puts us potentially in a bowl game. I just want to get those 15 extra practices, you know, just it's been growing pains for this offense, and getting them more reps, getting them, you know, more time is, you know, getting Lausch more time is going to be critical for him moving forward. If he's the guy moving forward, which I, you know, have every reason to believe he will be, which could be the first time since Clayton Thorson that we're going to have the same quarterback year out, you know, from one year to another. We need that. We need consistency at the quarterback front. So you're going to see a good effort from our guys, and it's going to look pretty cool because we're wearing our Gothic uniforms.
Oh, the Gothics. Okay. You know, Ohio State's been kind of, they've been kind of trolly this year with their uniforms. Whenever the opponents busted out an alternate, we have 2 at the last second. And so that might be interesting. We come out with like some kind of Wrigley special. I don't know. But anyways, you never know. But you know, as an Ohio State fan, I think you guys will like to hear this. Ohio State fans really respect your program. You know, it's not been that long. It feels like it's been a long time for us because of who we've lost to the last 3 years to get to Indy. But it wasn't that long ago. We were playing one another a couple times in Indy for Big Ten titles, and
great games both times.
Though I got to go to one. Obviously, the other one was COVID. We didn't get to go. None of us did. But in both instances, boy, we took your best shot. And for a while there, it was like, this isn't good both times. So there's a ton of respect there from the Scarlet and Gray when it comes to the purple coming out of Chicagoland. And we're excited for this game. I know a lot of fans are excited for this game. I'm not. I just be honest with you, because the field scares me to death as an Ohio State fan. We already have we have already had injuries on the offensive line, one twisted ankle, and gosh darn it, you know, this could be ugly. So I'm with you, John. Let's write a contract. Let's play the second
This is what
strings.
I'm saying. Let's handshake this.
Yes.
Again, how much you want it? 25, 30 points. We can meet in the middle sometime,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
And again, it really is like, I hate to be like that kind of fan, but the health piece of it makes it really real, because for we feel the exact same way. Like, you guys are playing a top 5 team in the country the week after this, and we're about to play 2 games right after this that could decide, just like Sam said, whether or not we get into a bowl game. So it's like we'd love to see clean football from us and come out of this healthy. That's probably our wish.
Yeah. And of course, we would love nothing more than for you guys to come out of this game, go to that whore known as Ann Arbor, and give them another L. That would just tickle us purple.
Well, also, we're conscious of the fact that, and we have the chance to effectively knock Michigan out of a bowl game.
Yes.
Because they play you the week after, and they're sitting at 5, and they need us for 6. So we would love to do you that solid and keep them out of a bowl game.
You guys might be on the Christmas list if that happens. So, guys, tell everybody where they can find the Westlot Pirates. Obviously, the website. By the way, if you've never been to their website, you guys need to go to their website. Check out their blogs. They do a phenomenal job. But go ahead, Sam, John, one of you, tell everybody where they can find you guys.
Yeah, I mean, westlotpirates.com. That's the website. You can find us anywhere you get podcasts. Westlot Pirates. We're on Twitter at Westlot Pirates, Instagram, every social media platform at Westlot Pirates. Just hit us up there. We have a really great discourse during the games. We'll be watching from a nearby facility, I believe, is the plan, and be tweeting up a storm as we go. So, yeah, at westlotpirates.com. Check us out.
Sam, John, thank you so much, guys. And if you can't remember any of that, just go over to thecollegehuddle.com, thecollegehuddle.com, go to the Big Ten, scroll down Northwestern. There they are, Westlot Pirates, and you can find all of their links, social links, website, etc. And their most recent podcast is even there for your listening pleasure as well. So thank you so much, guys, for coming in. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the game this weekend.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate you.
The OHIO podcast is brought to you by Mastermind. Mastermind specializes in 360-degree, high-definition mobile video mapping, GIS integration, and traffic safety studies. Mastermind cares about traffic safety and keeping you safe on the roadway. Visit Mastermind at onlinemastermind.com. And we want to thank the Westlot Pirates for joining us for this special Ohio State versus Northwestern preview. 2 great guys, man, and just a great podcast. Head over to westlotpirates.com. Check out their website and their blog. It is the #1 Northwestern site, athletic site out there. #1. They cover the team better than anybody. And if you're a Northwestern fan and you stumbled on this and you're not following those guys, how in the world is that even possible? They are literally the biggest ones out there. So go do that. And if you're a Buckeye fan, go check them out. It is worth your time to go hear what they say for their preview as well. So, all right, Chris, let's dive back into this now that we've got a chance to hear them and their concerns as well. They don't want to play this game as much as we don't want to play this game. They know they've played this game multiple times, and they've seen the field. They've seen, they've been to Wrigley. It's their homecoming, for goodness sakes, that no one is going to who's a Northwestern fan. It's kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But let's talk about a little bit about the game. If you're Ryan Day, I think Ryan Day's doing the right thing. He's getting them out there. They're going to walk the field. He's going to get them comfortable with the surroundings, the feel, the look. He's doing the right things. But if you're Ryan Day, what is your approach in this football game? If I'm Ryan Day, I'm not against playing it safe.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I'm Ryan Day right now, I'm passing enough to keep them honest, but I'm keeping the ball on the ground as much as possible. Especially as you get down towards the end zones. You're going to try to play where keep that game as close to the center of the field as possible. And like you said, play it safe. we're obviously going to have passing downs where we're going to have to throw the ball. As I said, Northwestern's defense is not that bad, but we should be able to handle them. But you know what? This is where we don't need to see a bunch of deep balls thrown other than maybe 1, 2 at most to keep the defense honest. If you're going to throw the ball, it should be timing routes, those 10, 15-yard routes, quick hitters, and run the ball as much as possible.
If you're going to go deep, you obviously want to do it where there's plenty of field to catch it and
Yes.
run, so that you're not
Yeah,
putting
if you're going
yourself.
deep, it better be from deep on your side of the field.
Yeah. I agree. You made at the beginning of this podcast, you made a comment that I thought was incredibly spot on, and that is when we get in close to the red zone, we get close to the end zone, we're running the football, which means this is a big offensive line, do your job game. Now, Northwestern is not bad defensively. In fact,
No.
they're pretty good defensively. They're in the upper echelon of the Big Ten in defense. But here's what's interesting about this game. I made the comment to you, and you had a good response to it. Statistically speaking, Northwestern is almost identical on both offense and defense statistically to the last game of the year against our rival from Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm. Now, again, Northwestern has not played Texas. They have not played Oregon. Their schedule has been quite a bit easier. That being said, I do think that team up north presents, at least up until recently, has presented a more balanced offense. You know what that team up north's going to do. 9 out of every 10 plays are going to run that ball on offense. I do think that even though they don't have great passing statistics, that Northwestern is a little better equipped to pass the ball right now.
They have they have better receivers.
Yeah.
At least they have shown that this year. I hesitate to say this, but I feel like what you're going to get from Northwestern is going to be very similar to what we're going to get from the team up north at the end of the year.
Yeah, and that makes this a great warm-up game, Eric.
That's my point. And so I feel like if Ryan Day can say, okay, there are some things that we think we can exploit in the team up north in that game, especially looking at it from an offensive standpoint against their defense. This might be the opportunity to take a look at some of that. So when you're watching this game, keep your eye on that. Do we do anything a little bit different, a little bit schematically that we haven't really done in the second half of the season? This would be a great opportunity for Chip Kelly and this offense to last week we saw it a couple times last week. They had both Trey and Quinshawn in the backfield together at times, and they had one of them lined out as a wide receiver. So there's some formational things that they're looking at, and they're showing some things for Michigan to take a look at. But keep your eye on that. I think this is going to be a great litmus test for this offensive line. Can we run the ball and get a good push against a defense who, for the majority of the season this year, has done a pretty good job at stopping the run?
We're giving up 180 yards per game, Eric. That's not a great number for an offense. So, I mean, defensively, they're pretty stout against that run.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. So if this game is not like you mentioned early, get up 21-0 in the first quarter, pull the starters, that would be ideal. I don't look for that to happen. I think this is going to be kind of an ugly, slow field position type of game early on. I do. But I do think the horses at Ohio State will take over. Now, the thing that Northwestern will do, they will cough the football up offensively. Yes. They will turn it over.
Yes, they will.
And they'll turn it over on their side of the field. And so Ohio State needs to be ready to take advantage of short fields, take advantage of mistakes that Northwestern makes. And if those things happen, I think Ohio State can get up to a nice, comfortable lead and feel good about this game in the second half.
And if that happens, Eric, can I give a note? Jack Sawyer, this is not how we carry the football. We do not just carry the football out here like this. When we get the football, Jack, we tuck that ball away so
He
that
knows
nobody can just
that.
come along and just smack it.
He played offense. Yeah. Well, hopefully, if that happens, the BTN announcers won't go, and there's a scoop and score for Ohio State, Jack Sawyer. Gus. Gosh. Anything else about this game that jumps out at you that you think we need to talk about or look at? The other thing would be kicking
obviously,
on this
because
field.
those wins in Chicago can be very unusual.
4th and short, go for it.
Yeah, this is going to be a test for our kicking game. And then, Eric, defensively, you talked about some of the things how Northwestern does some things similar to Michigan. And I think this is a great opportunity to see what we can do as far as, I guess, just containing,
Yeah.
I know one thing. If I see the 3-3-5 again, I may vomit because that just has not worked when we've tried it. I know that everybody wants to talk about the jack. It ain't jack, dude. It ain't jack. It's just not fluid with what the guys we have in this offense or this defense. So focus on what you know. And, if you want to experiment a little bit with some different things, this is definitely the game to do it because the 2 games after this is serious. Your season is the 2 games after this.
Yep.
So.
Beautiful. All right, guys, you know the deal. Like, share, subscribe. It
Eric,
does help the channel. Yes.
Eric.
Oh, my gosh. We got to give our score
predictions.
Do me a favor, everybody. Down in the comment section below, give me your score prediction. Let me know how you think this game's going to go. Chris, you're up first, man. What is your score prediction for this game?
I'm with you. I think Ryan Day is going to be a little wiser. I don't think we're going to necessarily be airing it out as much as we normally do. Eric, for me, I think I think Ohio State's still fairly dominant. I'm going to go 35-3.
35-3. As you heard when we were interviewing the Westlaw Pirates, they feel that they could get 2 field goals. That is literally the bar that they're going for, is 2 field goals. They said, hey, we can make those field goals that Purdue missed. And so I'm one to believe that they probably could. I just don't think they're going to get more than 1 opportunity. So, Chris, I like your score. I feel like it's good, but I'm going to go 42-3, and I'm going to give us a not 1, but 2 defensive scores this weekend.
Fair enough.
I think the defense can score a couple, or at least set us up for some couple easy scores. So I'll go 42-3.
And Eric, I think that this has the ability to be a game with a back-to-back shutout. I think a back-to-back shutout is not out of the question.
It's not, actually. I really tussled with that and wrestled with that, but it is Wrigley Field. It is their homecoming, and it is going to be weird, and it's going to be a little weird for the defense too. But hopefully not. Hopefully the silver bullets come out and the defense is just lighting them up from the word go, and they dominate this game because I am very, very worried that the storyline coming out of here is going to be an injury or 2. Yeah. And I don't want it to be, but I'll go 42-3. Again, like, share, subscribe. Please do that. Ring the bell, get notified. Please consider becoming a member. Only costs $3.99 a month. We want to thank all of our members. We appreciate you guys so much for keeping the channel afloat. And down in the comment section, give me your score prediction as well, people. We appreciate you all so much. Remember, Thursday night's the call-in show. So tomorrow night's the call-in show, 8 o'clock. We'll talk all about this with all of you again. Let you guys have your time to talk about it. Plus, this Saturday is the watch party as well at noon. So you can turn on BTN and then turn us on and have a good time with us. All right. Anything else, Chris, before we head out of here?
No, just looking forward to the game. Hoping I can become a little more optimistic again next week.
I hope so too, guys. All right, guys. So next time, be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH. Sing Carmen High with all your heart. Chris, you know what to do. OH.
I-O.
Go Bucks.